Hey all, Joe here, and here we are for How to Shadow Mewtwo Part 1. Now this video was quite a while in the making. I've been making it for a few days, so I'm going to release it right now, and then of course I'll go to the people that you guys voted for in the next video. So there's that. Now in this video, of course, I'll be talking about my first impressions of him, some basic playstyles, and then some tips and tricks about Shadow Mewtwo. Make sure to vote in the comment section below who you want to see next time. With all that said, let's get going on Shadow Mewtwo. So, for my first impressions, he's essentially the glass cannon in this game. Now, I expected Weavile to be the glass cannon in the game, but it actually turned out to be Shadow Mewtwo, which is kind of weird. Now, with Shadow Mewtwo, he has a huge damage output, but of course he dies very fast, and that's essentially just what a glass cannon is in the first place. Of course, I need to mention that he also does have the lowest HP in the entire game, and he does have to use his HP in order to do combos. Now, this makes him die even easier and even faster. Half the time when I'm playing Shadow Mewtwo, I'll use up to half my HP trying to kill the enemy, and of course this becomes a big problem as when you're using this much of your own HP, it makes so that if the opponent hits you once or twice, they can kill you, and that's kind of ridiculous when of course the opponent is fighting you as Shadow Mewtwo. But of course, a benefit about playing Shadow Mewtwo is that his damage output is probably one of the highest in the entire game if you can learn his combos very well. Now, he has a lot of different and weird combos, but if you can learn them, you're going to be doing some insane damage. They just hit after hit after hit, they just keep going. As well, he has a lot of weird strings that you can put together, and overall, he just has huge damage if you can happen to learn all these. I'd recommend to go look up a Shadow Mewtwo combo exhibition, and just wait a little bit because more of those will be coming in the near future. Look up some of these Shadow Mewtwo combos, they're really insane. Now, my next thing I want to say is that it seems like a lot of his moves come out very fast, but quite a bit of them seem to have pretty low priority, that meaning that the enemy's moves hit through your moves for some reason or another. Now, this doesn't happen to all of his moves, but quite a few of them just don't have the best priority. Of course, his like fire and ice claws, those do very well, but many other of his moves don't do quite as good. Now also, it's pretty hard for him to break his shield for the most part, because, you know, his charge attack really isn't the best in the game, and he doesn't have that many other options to break a shield, and most of his range attacks don't do that much shield damage, so it's pretty hard for him to break a shield. So a lot of times you will have to go up for that grab attack. It's really not the worst thing in Shadow Mewtwo, but you just have to keep that in mind. Now, I did just say that his spacing moves don't do the best against shield, but overall, his spacing moves are still pretty dang good. I mean, he has the Wall of Light, which of course you can follow up the weird mean look thing and make it even bigger. Of course, you can also use your barrier in the air into Flamethrower or Thunder, and finally, you have your Psybeam or your Shadow Ball. Now, all these apply quite a bit of pressure. They don't do that much damage, if any damage on shield, but if the opponent tries to come for you at all, they're going to be hit by these, so that's a really nice way to keep the opponent far away, and quite a few of them can actually combo pretty well, so that's a nice bonus as well. Another thing about Shadow Mewtwo that I just really love about this character is that he has a crap ton of options. Now, he can play very defensively and try to be very safe, while he also has the ability to go complete ham on the opponent. He has a lot of very close-up moves, such as his Up A, which is a weird combo hitting move. He also has stuff like Zen Headbutt or his Forward A, and of course, all of his Y attacks and all of his X attacks go all ham, all in, and try to kill the opponent. But also a few of his jumping A attacks and a few of his jumping Y attacks do allow you for some long-range pressure, as well of course as the long-range moves that I just said about. This is a really great mix because he's good at close range, he's good at far range, and he's also good at middle range. This makes him just a very strong character, but of course he does have the negative of dying really fast, and of course killing himself, so it's kind of hard to space sometimes as him just because, you know, you kill yourself. Now, my final first impression about him, and the thing I really love about him, is that his burst gauge is really ridiculous. Now, it charges up insanely fast, as well if you go into your high stance, it charges fast there too, and also, the burst stance itself gives you a huge damage increase in your damage output. It also heals him for quite a bit of his HP, and of course makes you regen any HP that you use of your own over time, so that's really nice. Of course, all bursts do that, but his is very nice as you do a lot of damage to yourself, and it also gives you one of the most powerful burst attacks in the entire game, as far as damage and the hitbox. It's very hard to dodge this burst attack. Essentially, they gotta be either shielding or they're gonna be hit by the burst attack. That's how it works for the most part. Sometimes you can go under it and sometimes you can go above it, but that's not gonna happen way too much. This is just one of the best burst attacks in the entire game. I really love it, and it's really nice how his burst mode comes up so fast because it does give you a very nice way to heal yourself back up after using all that HP that you did have to use, you know, to get the damage earlier on in the match. And now we're off to the basic playstyle, and I'd say for the basic playstyle of Shadow Mewtwo, I'd say that you almost always have to play perfectly as him to win. Now, maybe not perfectly, but very good. He isn't the pick up and instantly win type of fighter, like maybe Machamp or something like that, and he'll take a very long time to master all of his inputs, all of his combos, and all of his different options in battle, as well as trying to learn how to do mind games as him. It'll take a long time to learn this character. With all of the options that he is very strong, but it's just very hard to learn. Another thing to note is that as Shadow Mewtwo, you have to seldom miss your attacks, or else the enemy could take away as much as just half your HP. As well, if you miss your attack, you take damage from your own moves, and the enemy does damage to you with their moves, so you kind of have to remember every single hit counts as this guy. You have to be really precise, and you just can't spam all day like some other characters. As for another thing, your traps have to be greatly set up beforehand because you can't just throw these things out or else you'll be killing yourself very fast. But if you do this all correctly, you will be rewarded with one of the most versatile and one of the most powerful fighters in the game. And now we're off to field phase, and in the field phase I'd say that you have a ton of options at range. You can either go for your Y or your side Y for some very quick pressure, back Y for a slowly approaching wall that can infinitely combo against shields, so that's nice, and you can charge your A for a fast projectile that'll follow the enemy and do a lot more stuff as well. It's pretty easy to box out a foe with Shadow Mewtwo, but the only problem is that if they just shield all your attacks, you'll be doing more damage to yourself than to them. If this happens to happen to you, you'll really have to go in if they're just shielding all your stuff, and Shadow Mewtwo can still definitely do that. His basic forward Y is a great engagement tool, and his XXX combo is very nice. As well, his dash from the jumping R lets you get right above the enemy, and you can go for a down X or use barrier and X for an earthquake. Finally, you can start charging up your B and then press Y for a very nice quick up run and slash at the enemy, or you can go the charged B into X for a giant whirlwind all around you, which does a ton of damage as well. You have a lot of ways to get in at the opponent, and overall, it's a pretty strong mode. Now, I do have to say that Shadow Mewtwo is amazing at this phase, but the problem for him really comes up with the fact that you have to waste a ton of your HP to win in this phase. Often you'll want to use all your options, but if you do use all your options, then you'll start to lose the battle by default if they just shield you. With this in mind, you have to learn to choose the right engages at the right time, use the right spacing moves when you're supposed to, and do it all very carefully in the field phase, or else you could quickly take a third or even a half of your own HP up. Now, as far as the duel phase, I'd say that once again, you are super strong here. You have forward Y and of course charging A to hit the enemy from afar, as well as your barrier Y for a nice thunderbolt from afar. More than just range moves though, you have a ton of combos slash ways to go in. Your Y does an insane amount of damage, and of course you can just go in at your foe with a forward X or forward A in order to engage. You also have the fire and ice slashers, which can give you some very nice safe pressure from afar for the cost of a little bit of HP, and in general you can demolish a foe in this mode. Your combo game is one of the best here, and if you can get going and do some damage against your opponent, then they're going to die very quick and easily. Of course, again, the problem here in this mode is that if you do go in and you don't happen to get the first hit, well, you're kind of screwed. I mean, you have the least HP in the game, so the combo will do a ton to you, and if you're going in, you're most likely using a move that uses HP, so you have even less HP in the end of all of it. Being the first to hit in this mode is crucial, and a high level of mind games are really needed to win here in the duel phase. Finally, for some tips and tricks of Shadow Mewtwo, the first one I'd say is use your down A to dodge the opponent's burst attacks. Now your down A makes you disappear for a little bit, and it can make opponent's burst attacks pass through you. It'll make you dodge a lot of them, and then right after they miss their burst attack, you can start up one of your own combos while they're in the lag of the burst. That's a very nice thing to do. The thing after that I'd say is try to take Cresselia / Reshiram as your support set. When you use Cresselia, it will give you back most of the HP that you used on attacking the enemy, so that's just really amazing. And as well, having a clutch Reshiram can allow you to almost 0 to death lower HP enemies, and of course, clutch out that match. Finally, I'd say don't spam way too much. I mean, you kind of want to as Shadow Mewtwo because he has so many great projectiles, but don't do it. Wait it out instead and try to let the enemy make a mistake before you strike. After they make that mistake though, they're really screwed. You have this huge damage output and you're just a really strong character. Finally, I feel like Shadow Mewtwo will probably be a very strong character, but I don't really know if he'll win anything. He seems too risky to use in tournament after tournament, and one wrong guess as him can make you lose the entire round. He's just not as safe as some of the others, such as regular Mewtwo, but if someone did happen to learn him very well, I could easily see him taking a high level tournament. And there you have it, my How to Shadow Mewtwo Part 1. I hope you enjoyed. Of course, there will be a second and a third part to this. Also, make sure to cut that subscribe button in half. Yes, cut it in half. And press it. Yeah, also comment down below who you want for next time. And I will probably be doing Gengar, because a lot of you people have been asking for that. But after that, tell me who you want. Press the like button if you want the series to continue. And I'll be seeing you all next time.